Alright, welcome back to Vitality Maximized channel. My name is Josh. I am the founder of Vitality Maximized, and today we're going to go into part 2 of why the natural health industry and the allopathic medicine industry a hit or miss, and how we, Vitality Maximized, can solve these problems. Yes. So before we begin, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell button on YouTube, and also like, subscribe on our Odyssey. We do prefer that in order to continue to support alternative media, you watch us more on Odyssey, help us rely less on YouTube. Okay, so we're going to go into part 2 of this very interesting topic, and in part 1 this is what we discussed. So a show of hands to any one of you who have been to numerous health professionals for a number of different health conditions, but you've only gotten marginally better or much worse. A show of hands. Anybody? Anyone? Maybe some of you, a lot of you, who knows? How many of you are so lost with so much conflicting information as to what to eat, how much water to drink, and what supplements to take, and really how to be healthy overall? Show of hands. Confused and too much conflicting advice, paralyzed, anyone? All right, and then this is an interesting one. How many of you guys think that all these online doctors are quote unquote scams? I've definitely I've heard these ones before. So any one of you think so? Anyone? All right, so I sort of feel for you, and I sort of understand and feel your pain and experiences. They are extremely valid. Not to be very honest, they are very valid. And one thing I always suggest, especially when it comes to your health, is to not give up. Do not give up trying to be the best, healthiest version of yourself. Do not give up or sort of have this sort of death wish that you're always going to have this condition forever. Like your body, they say in the Bible, the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. That's what it says in the Bible. If you want to contend with that, that's up to you. But it outlines and signifies the importance of taking great care of your body at all levels. All right. So the first one is why the client is implicated into this discussion. I think it's some people don't like to hold the client accountable, despite the fact that you may have various health conditions and challenges. But all of you having issues, problems, challenges of any kind, you have a part to play. And I'm not trying to be like mean here. This is what I have observed for a good number of years online, how people talk, and even within my own family members and everyone else. All right, so and now we're going to go into part 2, being the professional. So let us get into this right now. So yes, I mentioned the professional now. Obviously, the last video we talked about the client, you seeking out solutions to your health challenges. So let us go with the first reason why the professional is very much implicated in this whole mess, and what you, the client, whether you're a family member trying to look for solutions to your loved one's health, this is literally for anybody, honestly. All right, the first one is extremely poor standards of health. I'm going to give a nice analogy or nice little short story. How many times, raise your hands, how many times have you gone to a physician or gone to anyone and you've had, or you're going through a lot of very strange symptoms, right? And different challenges. And maybe your physician does some lab work with you, say blood test, right? And he analyzes your blood test and he says that your blood work is excellent, right? And there's nothing wrong with you, and he or she dismisses you. How many times have you experienced that in your lifetime? Like, show of hands. Anybody? I feel for you having to go through all of that, and this maybe dives into another deep topic about the improper use and an understanding and application of a blood test or hair test or what have you. I will discuss that in future videos. So yeah, and we have to, as a client, you have to watch out for this. As someone who has challenges, or anybody who is taking care of those who are in health needs, you really need to take note of this. Anybody who, any professional who sort of dehumanizes the whole process, just recommends you one drug, one herb, or just take magnesium, although magnesium is useful, right? And you really need to take note of them. You have to watch how they relate with you. They have to watch how they speak. It's not an easy thing to do, but poor standards of what good health means among the professionals, is rampant. Whether you are in the allopathic realm or even the natural health realm, it is rampant. It is, it's everywhere. And I really hope that Vitality Maximize hopes to, raise the standards of what excellent health and vitality means. All right, the next one is watch out for any individual, health coach, licensed physician, whoever it is, who is not looking to always upset you. In that sense, they always try to be nice, play cheerleader, don't want to ruin relationship, and all of that stuff. If you are taking note of this, right, you need to get rid. You need to seek a second opinion. You need to seek another perspective, and that's me being very honest. I would also suggest, even as a general rule, to expel, if you can, all toxic positivity. I just watched something by the Minimalists. You can find them on Instagram, and they said that being negative is what it is, doesn't help. Being overly positive doesn't help. And I had my guy TK. TK said we have to think more of a possibility like thinking. So it's not necessarily overtly positive or overtly negative, right? So it was a good way to frame things. And possibility thinking obviously ask deep questions about your morals, what you stand for, and your beliefs and everything like that. So if you do not have a professional that holds you accountable to your habits and or any sort of behavior change or any change that he or she advises you to make, right, and does this consistently for a prolonged period of time, right, this is not a good health professional. Real talk. Okay, move on to the next one. This is an interesting one, clinging on to either the theory or application of certain sciences. So I don't mean to take digs at anybody, but I have noticed that, you know, there are people who are like into Taoist medicine or traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda or New German medicine, and different types of ideas that float around, you know, the natural health industry. And there are some who are so vested in their time of, you know, say Ayurveda, right, and they somewhat refuse or to, you know, take into account, you know, how this can link to, you know, a modern Western science of, you know, organs, cells, tissues, organ systems, blah blah blah, or, you know, they find that their approach to maybe Ayurveda is not working purely based on Ayurveda, using say Pitta, Kapha, Vata, right? And the approach is not working at all, and they keep on clinging to the theory and application, and they don't know how to, you know, evolve a little bit. They don't have to like completely change course, but, you know, you expect some level of like evolution, or, you know, thinking broadly enough to make a few changes here or there. If you find someone that, you know, specializes in something, and you just find that they refuse to, you know, have a big picture approach, and this is not easy. You have to be like well seasoned to watch out for this. But if you find someone like this, I would suggest, you know, going the other way. Obviously, not everybody is going to know everything or about everything that has to do with health and wellness and everything, but you do, even if one is not like a specialist, they should still be able to either you know, discuss things or in a different manner, in a different light, even if they don't have to agree with, you know, how a certain theory can be applied, right? So this is something to take a strong note of. It's pretty advanced. And then the next one being, and this is an extremely big issue, and I see this every single day, even from the people that I like, which I am not naming names, which is the improper use and understanding of blood, hair, especially blood and hair tests, and maybe less so urine and feces. So I'm going to give a story of something that happened last year. So within the month of May 2022, I had this individual, and I'm not naming her name, I'm not naming who she got the hair test from, but the point is that she got a free hair test from a certain doctor, and this doctor is a fairly well-known doctor within the alternative health space. I think, you know, you could ask, how is she getting like a free hair test? She didn't pay any dime. Obviously the answer is that it was probably sponsored by somebody. I don't know who it was. So, you know, she, in one of the group chats that I'm in, she, like, you know, she joined, and then she was asking a lot of questions about this her her analysis results. Like, she was asking quite a lot of questions, right? And then I, messaged her and told her, like, hey, I could, help you. And, I basically did like a interpretation and consultation for free for her, especially for her, right? And some of the things that she was telling me about what she received was that, she had like a I don't really need to like go into what her results were like, but what my point is that she was getting really low levels of certain minerals, right? And this doctor interpreted that it was, a matter of deficiency, and it's like a matter of deficiency. Like, she was like, whether it's low iron on the hair test, like anemic or something like that, or whether the toxic metals were like really, really low. They're like, she's not toxic or anything like that. And I know she was going through a lot of various, symptoms as well. So it didn't make quite a lot of sense to me. It was definitely wrong, and I thank God that she even asked such questions and wanted to seek more understanding. So yeah, proper lack of interpretation, or the lack of interpretation for hair test, is rampant. It's widespread for those who like to, or those who find an interest in it, and same applies to blood as well, to a lesser degree. Obviously a common one is like, what the cholesterol level signifies, but I'm not really necessarily going to go into that. But this is a massive issue, and I will do a video on this regarding, the interpretation and understanding of what especially a blood test could signify, or what a hair test could signify. Again, I'm not an expert on blood tests, right? But there are various things that I can understand, I can point out and watch, like, hey, something like, something isn't right there, for instance. So, but this is a future video. All right. All right. The next one, this is a interesting one. The mass compartmentalization of the healthcare system. So, what do I mean by this? In, say, the traditional healthcare industry, you have people who are, endocrinologists. They have people who specialize with the eyes, people who specialize with the ears. You have people who specialize in the senses, or a liver, or someone who specializes with the liver, or there's a massive compartmentalization. I don't necessarily know the level of collaboration between the compartmentalization. I don't really think it has happened. There's been a lot of collaboration. Maybe the collaboration sometimes occur when people talk about gut health, right? Then maybe that there is a people talk about the gut brain axis. Apart from those, and maybe a few things here and there, like there's a lot of the compartmentalization leads to all this, like, separation, studying one organ or one organ system very intensely, but they fail to miss some of the links and the bigger pictures. And sometimes they say in medicine that, some things can't be cured, and it's all genetic and all of that stuff, and they don't there's not a lot of they don't tend to collaborate. There isn't a lot of collaboration. So the most important thing out of this very point is that the whole is greater than the sum of its part. So let me repeat that again. The whole body as a system, right, is greater than the sum of the parts, like just adding up, all the parts of the human body together. Like, it's not the same. There is a synergy that where something is more whole and something where you're just trying to add up bits and connect dots and all of that stuff. So to continue further into this, right, I'm going to give you an example of the eyes, right? So in traditional Chinese medicine, for instance, the eyes are what are strongly correlated with the liver, interestingly. That's because the eyes are part of what you may call the liver meridian. So, and yeah, it might be a bit woo-woo for all of you, but I don't care, to be honest. I'll say it anyway. The meridians support the free flow of ki, prana, ether, call it what you like, subtle energy, call it what you like, right? From the eyes, then to the lips, then all the way to your liver and gallbladder, and then it goes down to the near your groin area, and then down to like your medial side of your lower body. That's the liver meridian right there. And disturbances to this meridian does affect eye health. So whenever you have issues with your eyes, maybe you're a bit more nearsighted on your left eye than your right eye, for instance, right? Like we gotta have to look at your liver, because your liver is like it makes everything that your body needs to support everything else. So like you can't escape the interrelationship between various tissues and organs of the body. You cannot. And this is one reason why I do not really suggest, unless the professional who is like, say, an eye doctor is extremely knowledgeable and reads well beyond what he is taught and can connect a few dots, I would suggest looking at different approaches, whether in the natural health industry, or you could look at us, Vitality Maximized, to naturally resolve, maybe if you say have an eye issue, and we might, obviously we'll look at the liver and we'll look at how the body is producing energy and stuff like that. So this is so the mass compartmentalization of the healthcare system is one massive reason why the industries are kind of hit and miss. Now the next one is I'll call it excessive reductionism. What do I mean by excessive reductionism? So has anyone gone on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and see people argue about diet wars? People have these diet wars, whether it is your vegetarians and vegans, your carnivores, your primal, paleo, ancestral, zone diet, this, that, and the other, right? One tends to think that, because plant foods have certain chemicals that, prevent absorption of nutrients, that we just avoid them altogether. Or there are some who think that, we feed animals a whole load of junk and all of that, so there's no point eating them. We can get our nutrients from just plants alone. And there's some who just think what did our ancestors eat? Or something like that, right? So excessive reductionism is a massive issue, especially when it comes to diet. A good or diet and health problems. Obviously, the most common and famous one is a high cholesterol level, and there's all these because some people could take down what's it called, observational studies. They have people do questionnaires, and that's if the people remember what they ate exactly. That's also another issue. And then you now try and look for correlations between say saturated fat intake and and heart problems, right? You might find something, but is it? And then, you know, you'll get through all of that merry-go-round, to be honest. But people really still don't understand what leads to, why people have high cholesterol in the first place. It's not about, eating foods rich in cholesterol. It's not about, just eating cholesterol-rich foods and just, everything anti what the government says, right? Like, we have to understand what cholesterol does, why it behaves this way in certain situations and contexts, and everything else. Obviously, the topic about cholesterol deserves more than what I'm just talking right now. But the point I'm trying to make is that anyone who goes down this excessive reductionism route, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of reductionism. Sometimes it helps us to understand things and have a direction. But like anything that's really excessive and fails to uncover or understand or to take into account different explanations that have value and may contradict what they vested their time and interest in, then you'll need to run away. You need to look the other way. Like real talk, look the other way. All right, the next one is obviously the professional's education, whether it's a licensed physician or a natural health professional. The education varies, and to say, I'll just go into the licensed physician. I did read on the American Medical Association that the hours spent in taking on learning nutrition out of their 4 years of medical school is just 20 hours. So literally 5 contact class hours a year. So next time you really so you have to think of this when you ever go to a licensed physician. Have they done more than their 20 hours of nutrition education in their in their medical school? And obviously with the natural health industry, there's a lot more that goes into nutrition. Or if you're a chiropractor, you'll get a lot more hours on nutrition. Obviously nutrition information is vast, wide, sometimes extremely contradictory, but that's not the point. The point is that whenever you are seeking someone, right, like me, you got to gauge what this individual knows about nutrition. You got to at least educate yourself just a teeny weeny amount. You don't need to be incredible. You just need to know a teeny weeny amount to understand the flow of what people are saying, right? And then and then the last one, very important one, and I see this all the time, is I call this a one size fits all. What do I mean by this? There are going to be many health professionals, doctors, who, let's say they've escaped the allopathic matrix or the common, maybe they think that all the talk about cholesterol is rubbish or something like that, right? And they tend to think that you can treat the same condition, a same particular health condition, the same way as treating someone else with the same condition, right? This will not take you far. And I'm looking at every single professional out there. You cannot do the same things over and over with different people and expect the same result. It's not about whether people respond or react the same way. It is simply because it's simply because people have different, and I'm not even taking into account some of their cultural limiting beliefs or all of that. People just have different metabolisms and how they process food or how they respond to certain things. So you can't do the same thing for everybody. Of course, you may have certain standards, you might have certain foundations in place that apply to everybody, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if everything is literally the same for everyone, then you ain't gonna go far. And anybody who is trying to assess who is a good fit, so that they can try and resolve their health problems, you need to take a massive note of this. In fact, start looking at people who approach or who have this approach that there are going to be different strokes for different folks, and they don't just say it in a sort of I don't say, maybe the word isn't ignorant, or in a way where there's no further exploration, and they're just trying to get out of a conversation and all of that. But ones who know that there are different strokes for different folks, and there are reasons, scientifically based reasons to back this up. I'll be one of them, obviously, because I definitely don't think one size fits all, and I've learned from very great teachers such as Dr. Watson about this very concept. So I don't need to say too much more. I really don't need to say too much more about this. So as we conclude, I just talked about 8 potential, or not potential, there are 8 reasons why on the professional side, why these industries, the natural healthcare industry and the allopathic healthcare industry, are both a hit or miss. So in part 3, we're going to be talking about how Vitality Maximize addresses all of these issues and what we will do so that I don't become a subject to some of these issues that I have already mentioned. All right, as we're closing, God help me, as we're closing, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. You need to share this to anybody who needs this, because this is, I think, and I'm sure others will think, that this will be valuable information to take on board. And don't also forget that as Vitality Maximized, given that we've just been in business as of recent, we are offering massive discounts for our current offerings. One being the mineral balancing program. We are charging $125, and we offer individual pay-as-you-go programs. We offer annual programs of 3 or 4 consultations a year, because you're not going to be getting this $125. You're probably not going to get this ever, right? You're not going to get a professional who will charge this little at this moment and then over deliver in the things that I'll provide. I'll provide things like access to certain resources, product discounts, free support, but there is a limit to that free support though, right? And then and we check up on you once a month, at least once a month, and more depending on the nature of, or the state of things, And yeah, it's really one of your best value of money if you really want to take your health and wellness to a much higher level. And thank you for watching this today, and stay tuned for part 3.